Under the bright lights of the Kuomintang headquarters in Taipei, the mood was one of ceremony, expectation, and quiet tension. The island's oldest political party, once synonymous with power and legacy, now gathered to witness a generational shift, the official handover of leadership to Cheng Li-wen. The moment carried symbolic weight. As the national anthem faded, the party's former chairs, Eric Chu and Wu Po-seung, stepped forward to pass the official seal. Cameras clicked, supporters waved flags, and the audience rose to applaud a new chapter in the Kuomintang's long and turbulent history. Cheng Li-wen, standing at the center of the stage, raised her right hand and took the oath of office. Her expression was resolute, her tone steady. Around her, party members repeated the pledge in unison, echoing through the hall. The atmosphere blended nostalgia with defiance, a reminder of the party's past glories and the struggles it faces today. When Chung bowed deeply to her supporters, the gesture carried more than respect. It was a recognition of the heavy burden she now inherits to redefine Taiwan's main opposition force amid a shifting political and geopolitical landscape. Moments later, she addressed the crowd, her voice amplifying across the hall. Taiwan's democracy is in grave danger, she declared, and Taiwan's security faces the constant threat of war breaking out at any moment. Taiwan's economic miracle and its guardian mountain, TSMC, may be rapidly hollowed out and stripped away. The words struck a chord with her audience. To many in the room, they captured a growing anxiety that Taiwan's prosperity, once the envy of Asia, now feels vulnerable under the combined weight of political division and external pressure. Her remarks also pointed to an implicit critique, not just of the ruling Democratic Progressive Party, but of a broader political culture that she argued has lost its moral center. During the election, she continued, I said I would transform the Kuomintang from a flock of sheep into a pride of lions. The metaphor landed with force. Supporters cheered, some waving blue flags emblazoned with the party emblem. For years, she said, the Democratic Progressive Party has torn Taiwan apart. Politics has become nothing but vicious infighting, leading to 2 or 3 decades of internal strife and stagnation. Taiwan has no time left when we cannot continue to sink further, nor allow hatred to spread unchecked. It was an unflinching message, equal parts warning and rallying cry. For Cheng, who comes from a background in communications and public policy, this was not just a political ascension, but a mission statement. Her leadership marks a pivot for the Kuomintang to present itself as disciplined, forward-looking, and capable of governing a deeply divided island. But the challenge is monumental. The party must navigate a public increasingly skeptical of Beijing, a younger electorate that identifies strongly with Taiwan's democratic identity, and an external environment defined by escalating US-China competition. As she descended from the stage, Chung was greeted by Ma Ying-jeou, Taiwan's former president and a symbol of the party's more conciliatory era with Beijing. The handshake between them was deliberate, a visual bridge between past and future. Cameras zoomed in as Ma leaned in to offer a brief embrace. It was a moment that suggested both mentorship and expectation. Under Ma's leadership, the Kuomintang had championed closer ties with China. Under Cheng, the direction remains uncertain, though her rhetoric hints at caution rather than confrontation. Later, in a press conference held at party headquarters, Chung expanded on her earlier themes. The expectations from the United States now far exceed what we can reasonably bear, she said, referring to the rising costs of defense cooperation and weapons procurement. Although Taiwan is an economically strong region, we cannot afford such a high military budget. The comment underscored a sensitive but increasingly common debate: how far Taiwan should go in aligning with Washington's strategic goals, especially when doing so may come at significant domestic cost. She went further still, adopting a tone rarely heard in Taiwan's mainstream political discourse. Taiwan is not an ATM, she said bluntly. We truly don't have that much money. We need to think rationally about our defense budget. The way to diffuse this trigger is through political efforts, resolving cross-strait military tensions. Investing in armaments will absolutely not bring peace. The statement drew both praise and criticism. To her supporters, it was a voice of pragmatism, advocating dialogue over deterrence. To her critics, it risked signaling weakness at a time when Beijing's military pressure on Taiwan continues to intensify. Behind the scenes, party insiders describe Chung's leadership as an experiment, an attempt to rebrand the Kuomintang without abandoning its traditional principles. Her strategy, they say, will focus on re-engaging local networks, reviving rural support and appealing to middle-class voters disillusioned with polarisation. Her team has already outlined plans to contest the 2026 local elections aggressively, targeting mayorships and council seats lost to the DPP in recent years. The goal is to rebuild credibility from the ground up, to prove that the Kuomintang can govern effectively at the local level before seeking a return to national power. But Cheng's challenge extends beyond electoral strategy. She must navigate an international environment where Taiwan's every move is scrutinised by both Washington and Beijing. Her emphasis on political efforts to diffuse military tensions could open a new chapter in cross-strait diplomacy or expose her to accusations of naivety. Analysts note that her rhetoric mirrors earlier attempts by moderate KMT figures to engage China while maintaining autonomy, a balance that has grown increasingly difficult in the era of Xi Jinping's assertive foreign policy. Still, Chung's words carry a calculated message. By warning that Taiwan's democracy is in grave danger, she positions herself as both defender and reformer, acknowledging public fears while asserting that the current path under the DPP has led to overextension, both economically and strategically. Her invocation of TSMC as Taiwan's guardian mountain, a metaphor deeply rooted in the island's sense of technological pride, also signals her awareness of the intersection between security, economy and identity. Her critics within the Kuomintang, however, caution that rhetoric alone will not revive the party's fortunes. The generational gap remains stark. Younger voters see the KMT as out of touch with Taiwan's modern liberal identity. Cheng, at 49, represents a bridge, younger than many of her predecessors, but old enough to remember the party's former dominance. Her first test will come in how she manages party reform, opening up candidate selection, modernising digital outreach, and positioning the KMT as a credible counterweight to the DPP's narrative of sovereignty and resistance. Outside the hall, hundreds of supporters lingered, waving flags and chanting slogans. Many expressed relief that the leadership question was finally settled. "We believe she can bring energy," one said, "but we also hope she can protect Taiwan without provoking conflict." That sentiment, cautious optimism mixed with realism, captures the broader mood of Taiwanese society, weary of constant political confrontation and anxious about the future. International observers are watching closely. In Washington, Cheng's statements about the defense budget may trigger unease among policymakers who view Taiwan's military modernization as essential. In Beijing, her emphasis on dialogue could be interpreted as an opening, though one the mainland may seek to exploit rather than reciprocate. And across Asia, where Taiwan's fate has become a barometer of regional stability, Cheng's leadership will be read as a test of whether pragmatic politics can survive amid the pressures of great power rivalry. As the event concluded, Chung took one final walk across the stage, shaking hands, posing for photographs and embracing supporters. The cameras followed her every step. The symbolism was unmistakable. The Kuomintang, long defined by its past, is attempting to write a new story. Whether Cheng Li-wen can lead it into that future, balancing tradition with transformation, independence with dialogue, will shape not only her party's destiny, but Taiwan's political trajectory in the years ahead. In the soft twilight outside the headquarters, as banners fluttered in the autumn breeze, one phrase from her speech lingered above all: Taiwan has no time left. For many in attendance, it was less a warning than a challenge. To act, to rebuild and to rediscover what opposition means in a democracy facing existential stakes. Taiwan's democracy is in grave danger, and Taiwan's security faces the constant threat of war breaking out at any moment. Taiwan's economic miracle and its guardian mountain, TSMC, may be rapidly hollowed out and stripped away. During the election, I said I would transform the Kuomintang from a flock of sheep into a pride of lions. For years, the Democratic Progressive Party has torn Taiwan apart. Taiwan's politics has been nothing but vicious infighting, leading to 2 or 3 decades of internal strife and stagnation. Taiwan has no time left. We cannot continue to sink further, nor allow hatred to spread unchecked. The expectations from the United States now far exceed what we can reasonably bear. Although Taiwan is an economically strong region, we cannot afford such a high military budget. Taiwan is not an ATM. We truly don't have that much money. We need to think rationally about our defence budget. The way to defuse this trigger is through political efforts, resolving cross-strait military tensions. Investing in armaments will absolutely not bring peace.